Time is free, but it's priceless. You can't own it, but you can use it. You can't keep it, but you can expand it. Once you have lost it, you never get it back. A very good afternoon to all the guests and dignitaries. With great joy and immense excitation, I feel privileged to extend my warm welcome to all of you for today's webinar on time management, organized by Dizzy Saksham. I'm Kanika Garg, host for today's webinar. Before I proceed, let me take a brief moment for the introduction of my organization. Dizzy Saksham is an initiative of SEMS Group, which has developed content over 300 courses in multiple languages, which range from 4 hours to 6 months in various sectors such as IT, BFSI, retail, entrepreneurship for all the age groups from the school children, youth, professionals, and even the senior citizens. Dizzy Saksham has conducted more than 100 webinars, 10 FDP and workshops, and 6 international conferences. Dizzy Saksham impacted 12,000 plus lives through various webinars, workshops, seminars, conferences across the globe. The topic for today's webinar is time management, which is presented by Mr. PAVAN SAVANT, sir. Time is very precious, which plays a very important role in everyone's life. Once the time is gone, it never comes back. So time management is the ability to use your time productively and efficiently. Now let me introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. PAVAN SAVANT, sir. He has completed MBA Marketing and BE Production with 20 years of middle and senior level management experience with companies in the Tata, Reliance, Mahindra Group. Rich experience in functions of marketing, strategy management, business planning, operation, and program management. He took a conscious decision in January 16 to move to the social development and academic sector. He is currently associated with Management Institute as a guest faculty. He is a soft skill trainer and also worked with few NGOs as a capacity building consultant. He believes knowledge is power and his aim is continuous learning coupled with knowledge sharing. He is certified soft skill trainer, career development facilitator, and a yoga practitioner who is passionate about mentoring the young generation. I would like to extend my warm welcome to you, sir, on behalf of Dizzy Saksham.
Thank you, Kanika. So very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the participants on this webinar. Since I see people from across the world, I have wished across the time scales. And it is very important, as Kanika already said, the importance of time and the importance of time management. And that is our topic for today. So as Kanika already introduced me briefly, my name is PAVAN SAVANT, and we'll be looking at time management over the next 50-60 minutes. Okay. So though Kanika gave my introduction, I am showing my introduction in a little different way, because if you look at this, there is a time scale, right, which starts in the year 1973. Now that was the time I was born, and that is when my time started. And we all have a certain start time and we have a certain end time as well. And that span is fixed because time is something which will fly. And therefore, as Kanika said, I also took some decisions in life at certain points of time because there are so many things we want to do in life. And that is where time management applies to our life as well. Because we have one life, we have a fixed time, probably 70, 75 years of living in this world. And there are so many things we want to do, right? Many of us have a bucket list. Many of us want to travel. Many of us want to do certain things. And with time being a constraint, time management becomes very critical. And as we see going ahead in the journey, time management is actually equal to life management. So what are we going to do over the next 60 minutes? This is in brief the content. So one, we will understand what is time. Post that, we will look at what and why of time management. So we'll try to understand what is time management, why do we need time management in life. Then we will look at the most important part of our session today, which is how time management. So how will we do time management? What can I do so that I'm able to manage my time well? Fourth, we will look at the benefits of time management, because all of us realize that yes, time is something which is very important. And if we are able to manage our time well, there are a lot of benefits that come to us. And finally, in the last 5 minutes, we will do some takeaways. So whatever we learned over the last 45-50 minutes, we will do a summarization of that. Now, why do you feel I am qualified for doing a session on time management? The reasons being, I have always valued time. Whenever I get an opportunity, I'm very time disciplined. And that has been my habit since I was very young. I have worked for 20 years in the corporate world, which means I have worked with different companies. And I have always been identified as somebody who has good time management. I am also a trainer on leadership. And for leaders, time management is very, very important. So having said that, let us move on to our content and understand what is time. So these are some things that we may have regularly read about time. So sometimes we may hear time is our most valuable resource. We have heard many a times that time flies. We have also said time is what we want most, but what we use worst. So it is very true that we always want time. We want more time, but we are not able to use time properly. And we have also heard that time is money. A lot of people say, right, time is money. If you're able to use time properly, you are able to make more money also. So let's understand, based on these four things that we saw right now, the concept of time management. Another thing I read recently, which I liked, and I thought, let me flash this to you, was about time. It says time is slow when you wait. So you are waiting for somebody, time is normally very slow. Time is fast when you are late. So if you are late for something, you'll always realize that time is, flying fast. Time is deadly when you are sad. Time is short when you are happy. Time is endless when you are in pain. Time is long when you are bored, and time is most beautiful when you are in love. So this was something I loved about time, and time is something that we all need to be very conscious about. So I'm going to give you a small exercise before we start. So on the next slide, I have shown a 24-hour clock. And we all know that wherever you are in this part of this world, we are going to have only 24 hours in a day. I have divided the time into 5 different brackets. So I've called it sleep time. That is the time when we sleep. So each of one of us sleeps, right? Somebody may sleep for 6 hours, somebody may sleep for 7 hours, a little more, and so on. The second is called standard time. So what is standard time? Standard time is the time that we take regularly for doing our breakfast, doing our daily regimen, like going for a bath, and so on. Then there is something called study or work time. So what is study or work time? Study or work time is the time that we spend on a daily basis, either doing our work, either in office, or we may be studying, or maybe we are attending classes if we are students, and so on. So that will fall under the third category. Fourth is called self-time. Now, what is self-time? Self-time is the time I spend on myself. So if I'm going out for a walk, if I'm going out to play some sports, if I'm doing some yoga or doing some exercise, where I'm spending time for myself, I am calling it self-time. And the last is called screen time. So what is screen time? Screen time is the time I may spend either watching movies or on WhatsApp or on social media or on playing games or maybe watching videos on my mobile or my laptop. So what I want all of you to do is take an approximation of how much time do you spend daily on these 5 activities, And it should ideally total to 24 hours, because these are the things that we do normally in a day. Either we are sleeping, or we are doing some work or studying. We are doing some standard work like having a breakfast, having lunch, dinner, etc. Some self time, which means you're spending time for yourself, and finally some screen time. So what I want you to do all to do in the next 2 minutes is put approximate figures in number of hours against these five, so that the total is around 24 hours. So this is my breakup, how I spend my 24 hours average on a daily basis. I will have 7 hours of sleep time. I will spend around 2 hours of standard time, which is the time I require for doing different things. I have around 6 hours of work time or study time. I have around 5 hours of self time, because I am in that phase of life where I'm spending more time on myself. So I go out for walks, I watch or hear some music that I like. I do some exercises, yoga, etc. And I have 4 hours of screen time, which is the time that I spend either watching a movie or listening to music or doing all those things. So now this may not be something that is standard. It all depends on what phase of life you are in. For example, if there are students, they may spend more hours on study and work. If there are some people who are working, they may also again spend more time on study and work, and they may have less of sleep time and so on. But what is important to note here is that we also need to have some self time. It's the time that we spend on our hobbies, on something we like, and something on exercise. So if somebody in this group who has a sleep time of more than 8 hours or 9 hours, you need to work on it, because that is very high. If somebody has sleep time of very low, say 4 or 5 hours, you need to work on it. What do I do? Because even sleep time of 6 to 7 hours minimum is something very essential. At the same time, if somebody feels that there is screen time which is more than 8 or 9 hours, it is not something good, because we are spending too much time on social media or watching videos or movies, which is not good for the long term. If somebody sees that there is very low self time, not even 1 hour or half hour of self time, where you're not able to spend time on your hobbies, on your exercise, even that is not good. So depending on where or what phase of life we are in, we need to define how much time we need to spend on different activities. Sleep has to be good enough. Your study work time has to be good. Your self time also has to be present. And you should try to minimize your screen time as well. So with this context, let us go ahead now and look at what and why of time management. So what we understood right now is that we have only 24 hours in a daily basis. We have 5 or 6 key activities that we can do throughout a day, and we need to work to ensure that we are able to spend the right time. Okay, so what and why of time management? So let's move on. So I'm showing a picture right now, and in this picture you see two different ladies basically working in office, and you see on the left hand side somebody who's very hassled, who has a lot of things spread on her table, and she's looking very confused. And on the right hand side you see another lady who's sitting very in a very nice posture and not too many things, and she has a very nice good expression on her face. Now please realize that this is something that I have seen in my office work. I've seen some people who are very hassled, very disturbed, too many things on the plate. But there are some people who are very structured and who have the right approach to things and are able to handle things in a very nice way. Now, why does this happen? This happens because the lady on the right is able to manage her activities, her time in a good way. And therefore, she's not very disturbed or hassled. Whereas the lady on the left is somebody who has multiple things to do, and therefore she is looking very confused and not structured at all. Now, what type of person would you like to be? And everybody, and mostly all of us would say would like to be like the person on the right hand side, right? Somebody who looks very composed, who looks in control, who's able to handle things in a nice way. And that is where time management helps. And therefore we all need to now understand as to what can I do as a student or as a professional to ensure that I am able to spend the right time in the right way. And that is what we will look at over the next 30-40 minutes. So let's move on. So this is another very important thing you'll hear sometimes in your academic space or maybe in your corporate world also, that don't be busy, be productive. So we need to understand what is the difference between being busy and being productive. Okay. So if you look at the bottom of the slide, I have put something which defines busy and which defines productive. And what is busy? Busy is continuously doing something. So a busy person is somebody who's always doing something, some activity or some task. Whereas a productive person is somebody who always achieves good outcomes. So he always has results or effects. So he may be doing work, but then he's always coming out with something which is a result, which is good. Whereas busy is somebody who's always doing something, but you never know whether he's able to produce the required result. And how do we want to be in life? We always want to be productive. We do not want to only be busy. The reason being, like we saw the two pictures of the two ladies on the earlier slide, a busy person is very hurried. He has multiple priorities. He's doing A, he's doing B. He's somebody who will always say yes to anything. He is somebody who gives attention to everything. And a busy person is always task oriented. Task oriented means he wants to do a certain task. That I want to do this also, I want to do that also. If anybody tells him to do something, he will say yes to everything, which is not a right way of handling things. Because if you say yes to everything, then you will find that you are giving importance to too many things and you are not able to focus on certain things. So what does a productive person do? A productive person is normally a person who's very relaxed, like you saw the girl or the lady on the right hand side of the earlier picture. A productive person has fewer priorities. So he knows that I need to only focus on certain things, not focus on everything. Because if you start focusing on everything, then you are not able to work on the important things. And a productive person is always a person who will always think before he says yes. So if my friend tells me to do something, I will think, can I do it tomorrow, or I am very busy tomorrow? I will say, no, I cannot do it tomorrow because tomorrow I have a certain thing to do. So I will tell him, no, not tomorrow, I will do it day after. So that is where a productive person starts thinking before saying yes to everything. A productive person also reserves attention to the work at hand, which means he's always focused on something that is doing rather than giving attention to everything. We'll see some examples as we move ahead. And a productive person is always result oriented, which means he wants to get a result out of what he is doing. Not that I want to complete this, I want to complete this, but I also want to get a result. So it is very, very important in life that we are not just busy, but we are very productive. We are able to deliver what we are supposed to do. For example, let me take a very simple example. You have an action to do maybe in 8 days, and by the end of 8 days you are supposed to generate a certain amount, maybe x dollars or maybe $100. Now if you work for 8 days continuously and by the end of 8 days you are not able to generate $100, are you successful? The answer is no, because you were very busy doing a lot of things to get that $100, but you are not able to generate. But if you are able to get the result out and at the end of the 8 days, you are able to generate that $100, you will be somebody who's productive. And when can you do that? You can do that only when you are very focused on that activity, that I have a target to do and I will work for that target only and not look at other things. So that is where the difference between busy and productive comes. And I have seen in my life many people in the professional world as well as the academic space, a lot of students who are always busy but not productive, which is not a good trait. You always need to be productive. You should be able to handle time in such a way that whatever you need to deliver by the end of a given time, that has to be delivered without fail. Okay, so let's move on. I'm going to tell you a small story now, and this is my own story. So if you look at the slide, you will see a picture of a man on the left-hand side, a well-dressed man. That's me. So when I was young, and I've named a company called Reliance Industries Limited. So that was the first company I started working after I completed my MBA. So I was young, around 23, 24 years old. And this Reliance Industries is a very well-known company, one of the largest companies in India. And I was very fortunate to get to work in this company. And below that, I have written the weekdays: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The reason being, every day, 6 days a week, we used to have a meeting at around 10:15 in the morning. So if you look at the right hand side extreme, I have mentioned a time 10:15 a.m. So every day from Monday to Saturday, we used to have a meeting at 10:15 with our boss. So our boss is the one that I've shown at the center of the page on the top, who's standing. So every day of the week, for week and months, we used to have this meeting at 10:15 a.m. And my office used to start at 10 o'clock. So if you look at the bottom of the left hand side, I mentioned a time called 10 o'clock. And on the right hand side, I've shown you a meeting room where a lot of people are sitting and this is being discussed. Now, what is important to know is that I was somebody who used to always be available on time for this meeting with my reports without fail for whatever years I spent with this company. Now, how was this possible? And my boss used to always commend me saying that Pavan is somebody who is always on time, who has always completed his reports. His reports are always right. Why should that happen? So let me tell you why and how I should manage time. So what used to happen is most of the other people in the meeting used to come to office by around 10 o'clock because the office starts at 10 o'clock. And then for the next 10-15 minutes, they used to work on the reports and they would hurriedly walk into the room and be present by 10:15. Sometimes some of them used to get late because of whatever reasons, the bus being late or the train being late or some other reason. And sometimes they would not be able to complete their reports on time. But what would I do? I would always reach office by 9:30 a.m. Though the office starts at 10 o'clock, I used to make it a habit that I will reach office by 9:30 a.m. I should need to travel around 1 hour, but I should then peacefully come to office, do my report, and complete my report by 10 o'clock. Ensure that it is correct. And I go and sit in the room by 10:10 a.m. So 5 minutes before the meeting starts, I used to go and sit in the room with no tension because I knew that my report was completed on time, etc., etc. So what happens because of this? So by just managing time a little, by reaching office a little early, I'm able to do my reports correctly without error. I can be before time in the meeting and always present something which is correct. So the others used to make a lot of errors, be late for the meetings, and my boss used to always fire the others and give my example. But what is it that I did different? Nothing great, just trying to come a little early, focus on my work, and complete my report on time and be in the meeting before time and then share something. So that was a very simple example I gave you. And this habit of managing time started young, as I said, and many of you on this call are very young professionals, young students. And I hope you understand the importance of time management, because if you're making time discipline a habit, it will become like a thing that you will continuously do and will help you in your personal as well as professional lives. Okay. So what is time management? A question that we want to answer. So if you look at the screen, I put a very simple definition for all of you to understand. Time management is a conscious control. What is conscious? Conscious is basically from within. So me as a Pavan knows that I have to control my time, because if I am able to spend my time properly, it will give me more productivity, it will give me more efficiency, and it will give me more effectiveness. So for example, I know a lot of students who sleep for around 9 or 10 hours, and then they are not able to reach college on time and they are not able to complete the assignments on time. So when I ask them, why did you not? Then I probe and then I tell them, can you not reduce your sleep time and maybe make it 6.5 hours? Can you not make it 7.5 hours so you're able to put in more time to focus on your studies or maybe your assignments? So it's a conscious control. I can only tell them, but you people will have to realize that I have 24 hours in a day only. So if there are certain things I need to prioritize, I need to target, I need to give results, I need to have a control on my time. How much time do I spend on sleep? How much time do I spend on regular activities? How much time do I spend on screen? 5 breakups that we saw earlier, we need to consciously control them so that we are able to get into the mode of time management and therefore become more effective, efficient, and productive. So it is very simple actually to say this, but sometimes we find in life that time management becomes difficult. So we'll also look at some tools as we move on. Okay, so we've done the second part of our content also. So we try to understand what and why of time management. So I gave you a very simple example that time management sometimes can be done in a very easy way. At the same time, we realize that time management is important because that will give us good efficiency, effectiveness, and productivity. And it is very, very important in life, not only to be busy, but also to be productive. Because busy is when we are always doing something, but we are not getting a result. And when you are productive, you are also giving a good result and an outcome. Okay. So we'll have questions at the end of this session. So if anybody has any questions in mind, please jot them down in your diary. And in the last 5-10 minutes, we'll have questions from few of you. Okay. So now we come to the most important part of our session, which is called how time management. So how are we going to manage our time is something that, as we already said, is in our hands, because time is something we cannot stop, we cannot control, right? But like we said and use the word conscious, it is something which has to come from within us. So if Pavan, that is me, wants to manage my time, nobody can force me or push me to manage my time. It is me who has to work out and say my priorities and so and so. So let's look at how can we do time management. So I'm going to show you a picture again. And there's a bottle here at the center, a jar, and there are 4 different items. So there are rocks on the left hand side top, which are large rocks. Then on the right hand side top, we have pebbles, which are smaller stones. On the left hand side bottom, we have sand, which is very thin and small, minute particles. And on the right hand side bottom, we have water. Now, if I want to fill this jar with the stones, the pebbles, the sand, as well as the water, in what order should I put these things in the jar so that we maximize? So I want to put the rocks also, I want to put some pebbles also, I want to put some sand also, I want to put some water also. So if I want to add all the 4 of them in this jar, there is a certain order in which I will do it. Because if I add the water first in the jar, and then if I add the stones or the rocks, then the water will spill out, right? If I add the sand first and then add the water and then the pebbles, then I may not find space to put the rocks because the rocks will come out. The same happens with time. In our life, even time has multiple things we have to do against time. For example, when we saw that chart, sleep time and standard time and screen time and study time, etc., there are some rocks there, there are some pebbles there, there's some water there, there's some sand there, right? There's a certain order in which we need to do things. Otherwise, it will not lead to a very productive outcome. So we'll understand this concept as we move ahead. So this is a very nice matrix that Mr. Eisenhower proposed for time management. So this is called the Eisenhower's principle of urgent and important. And if you look at this matrix on the left-hand side, he has put something called the importance of work. At the lower end of the slide, you will see something called urgency of the work. So any work that we do normally is important as well as urgent. And the scale that is put on this matrix is something between low and high, and low and very high and very low. So what happens is you as an individual needs to define whichever work I'm supposed to do, where does it fall? Is it something which is low urgency and high importance? Is it something which is high urgency, high importance, and so on? And we also need to understand what is the meaning of urgency. And we need to understand the meaning of importance. So urgency is something where you have a time constraint to it, that you need to do it very fast because you do not have too much time. For example, if I have to pay my credit card bill and the due date is tomorrow, or I need to pay the electricity bill of my house and the due date is today evening, then we know that it is a work that is very, very urgent as well as important, and therefore we will have to prioritize it. At the same time, you know that you have to submit some form to some college in the next 15 days if you want to get admission. Then you know that it is very important because you have to get admission and therefore you have to fill the form. But is it very urgent? The answer is no, because you still have 15 days. So it has not yet reached a stage where you are needing to give urgency to it. So every work that we need to do has to be defined under whether it is something which is important and urgent. And that is what is the concept that Mr. Eisenhower proposed. So this is how he defined the work. He said something will fall under urgent and important, something which is not urgent but important, something which is urgent but not important, and something which is not at all urgent and not at all important as well. And I'll give you some examples on the next few slides where we'll see that everybody and anybody among us faces this kind of simple things. And if you are able to define and focus on what is urgent and important, and something which may not be urgent but important, then those are the areas that we need to put efforts continuously. And things which are not urgent and not important are the ones that we can think of later. So very, very simple matrix that Mr. Eisenhower proposed. And many of you may be working today in the professional world, working in companies. And as we mature in our life, move from our academic life to the professional life, we will realize that we have too much works that sometimes comes to us. For example, people who work in the corporate space, who work in companies, will realize that there are many things that they are bogged down with on a daily basis. You will need to define what is it that I need to define as urgent and important. And that is what I need to focus on. What is it that is not urgent and not important? I can just leave it aside and maybe do it at a later time when I have less time pressure. And that is how we will be able to do a form of time management. So a very simple and very useful matrix, which I have always used in my professional and personal life, and I have found it to be very helpful. I'll give you an example also on the later slides. So this is what this model of Eisenhower says, that whatever is urgent and important, you will have to manage it, which means you'll have to do it immediately because it is urgent as well as important. Something which is not urgent but important, like the example I gave you, you need to pay the fees for a college after 15 days. You need to devote time and focus on that, because if you are not focused on that, it is possible that it may again fall into urgent and important. Therefore, you need to do it. So another example is if there's an assignment that you do for a professor and it should be submitted after 8 days, you will need to focus on it because you know that it is not very urgent right now. I still have 8 days, but it is important because I need to submit it in 8 days, and therefore I need to devote some time and focus on it. Something that is urgent but not very important, you can limit it or delay it, which means I can do it a little later because I know that it is not something important. I'll show you some examples also so you'll know better. And finally, something which is not urgent and not important, we can drop them or avoid them. Because sometimes we focus on these things which are not very urgent and not important, knowing that we have so much to do. And if we are focusing on these not urgent, not important things, then we will miss something that is urgent or important, etc. And therefore, we need to learn on a daily basis. We need to apply this. Yeah, what are the things I need to do today? Okay, these are important things. So if you feel that okay, I don't have too much to do, then you can pick up one of the non-important things and also focus. But if you find that there's too much work on a given day, then you may need to drop something, delay something, so that you can focus on what you need to do and devote. So this is a very simple model that Eisenhower proposed. So I'm going to show you some examples, and then we'll try to define where each of them fall so that we are very clear. So look at the screen, which basically puts in some 7 or 8 different activities or tasks that maybe I have to do on a daily on a certain date, which is say today. So I need to plan a family trip to Goa in April 2022. So where would it fall under this table? You all need to decide, is it something which is urgent and important? Is it something not urgent but important? Is it something which is urgent but not important, and so on for the balance. What is the second? I need to go to a doctor to diagnose a 3-day recurring fever. So I'm getting a fever for the last 3 days and I need to go to the doctor. Is it something which is urgent and important? Is it something not urgent, not important, etc.? Third, I need to submit bank paperwork for urgent account opening. So another activity that I need to do. There are some unwanted visitors or phone calls that are coming. So I'm continuously getting phones on my mobile, which I am not aware who they are. Fourth is I want to watch a movie on a laptop. So since long, I want to watch a certain movie, something that has come up. All my friends have watched it, but I have not yet seen it. Sixth is I need to submit a long assignment by tomorrow evening. So tomorrow evening, I have to submit a long assignment, which is due. I need to send an email to a university for admission process in June 2022. So there is a process in June 2022. And finally, there's an activity like I want to meet a school friend who's back from London. So one of my school friends had gone to London for a holiday and he's come back and he wants to meet me. So these are different activities that you have on a plate for a given day. What would you focus on? So that is very important. And let us try to bifurcate into the four. So now look at the next screen. So yes, I need to plan. So I need to focus and devote because it is something which is important but not very urgent. What is very important and urgent? For example, the second line element, going to a doctor to diagnose 3-day recurring fever. There are so many people currently in this COVID times who are not focusing on health. They are saying, okay, let me focus on something else. This fever will go off. And then they are getting into problems. I have so many cases that I've heard of. Therefore, it is very important that we need to understand what are the things that are urgent and important. So in this case, point number B is very urgent and important. That if you have something to do with health for 3 days it has happened, you need to do that today itself. Look at the next one. There is a submitting long assignment by tomorrow evening. So tomorrow evening is it's due and you need to focus. So you need to manage and do it. So the ones that are marked in green are the ones that you need to do immediately because they are urgent and important. The ones that are in yellow are, yes, they are important, but not very urgent because there is some time still pending and therefore you can only focus or ensure that you do it over the next few times. The ones that are in yellow are the ones that you can limit or delay. I'm too busy today, I have to do or focus on certain things. So let me limit or delay maybe watching the movie or meeting a friend. What can I avoid completely? Maybe the unwanted visitors, phone calls. So if I'm knowing that I'm very busy, I will not give any importance to things which are something which I'm not concerned about. So this is how we need to break off our daily activities, decide what is very important and very urgent, and focus and manage certain things. So that is what the Eisenhower's model says. Let's move on to some time management tips now. So how do you manage time in a very good way? So the first point is start your day right. Target to be early. So if there are anybody on this webinar or on this session who are not getting up a little early, they need to start the day right, because if you get up early, automatically you're very fresh. You're able to focus very clearly on certain things. Second is clearly set your priorities. We just saw the Eisenhower model, which clearly defines as to what is urgent, what is important, puts it into 4 blocks, and based on that, you are able to clearly set your priorities on a daily basis. Third time management tip is do not overcommit, be realistic. So like we saw earlier, don't say yes to everything. Your mother tells you something, you will say yes. Your father tells you something, you will say yes. Your boss tells you something, your friend tells you something, yes, I'll do it, we'll do it. No, be realistic. Will I be able to do it? Or I'm just saying yes for making them happy. Be realistic. If somebody is asking or putting a lot of pressure on you for something, see whether you'll be actually able to do it based on whatever efforts you have to take over the next few days or few hours, and be very realistic. Delegate wherever practical. So don't take ownership of everything on yourself. If you feel that somebody in your team, somebody in your family can do something which you are not able to do because of time pressure, please delegate it. Request somebody, can you do this for me because I am a little overcommitted. Can you please do this for me? And I have found this very useful in the corporate world, that if you have a team and there are team members who are very helpful and you are confident that he's able to do something which you are not able to put time on, you can always delegate. Sometimes you can delegate at home also. For example, you need to do something that your mother has told you, but you are a little busy with office work. You can always request your brother, sister, or your father, or even your mother that I am a little busy, rather than saying yes. So please delegate wherever practical. The other 3 things that we're going to spend a little time on is the ones on the right hand side. So make a to-do list. So I will show you what a to-do list is. That is something very, very important. How do I make a to-do list and manage time better? Stop procrastinating. So we'll understand what procrastinating is. And third is eliminate time wasters. So we'll have to look at these 3 things over the next 5-7 minutes. So we are able to manage time in a much better way. Okay. So what is a to-do list? As the word says, it is a list of things that I need to do on that particular day. Okay. So it's a list of tasks you need to complete or things that you want to do. So for example, today is Saturday. On Saturday morning, when I wake up, I know that I need to conduct a session on time management at 2 o'clock. Then at 4 o'clock, I need to go to the market to do something. At 6 o'clock, I need to call up somebody. and at 7:30 I have to go for a meeting here and there. So if I put that in a to-do list on a diary, I know that these are things that I need to complete. So I'll show you what a to-do list is on the next slide. So see on the left hand side, this is actually a picture from my diary from the date of 25th December. So on 25th December, I put certain things in the diary saying these are the 7 things I need to do. So I need to call up Joe's and Paul and wish them happy birthday. I need to pay my credit card bill. I need to prepare slides on sales. So I'm going to make a presentation. I want to transfer money to my wife Preeti. I need to check with the carpenter on certain things that he need to do at home. I need to buy vegetables online for my parents because they are away, staying away from me, and I need to submit some bank KYC. So these are the 7 things I need to do. At the morning, at around 8 o'clock, 8:30, I will jot this down in my diary. And then by the end of the day, as I complete, I will tick them saying, this is what I've done, this is what I've done. Whatever I have not been able to do, I will put in a bracket, either partial, I'll put a cross. So I know that, okay, this is only partially done. So I have to overflow it to the next day. And the last one I did not do because I did not get time, and maybe it is not very urgent at this point of time. Maybe I can do it tomorrow or day after also. So on the 26th, again, I will put the point number 7 back because I know that this is something I need to do. So this is as simple as a to-do list where you capture everything you need to do on that day or in the immediate future. You follow the priority method, so you decide which are the most prior ones, because I need to call George and Paul on Christmas, because if I do not call them today, I cannot call them the day after because Christmas is already gone. I need to pay my credit card bill because the due date is close, and if I do not pay, I will get a fine or an interest. So I will define based on that, and I will try to complete most of them. And whichever is not done, I will move on to the next day, knowing that these are not something which are very urgent. So what happens when you work like this by making a simple to-do list is that you are able to track what you're able to do. Now assume that today is 29th of January and 4th of February, I have to call up somebody. I will go in the diary and mark on the 4th of February already saying I need to call up Mr. XYZ. So what happens is automatically when I move to the 4th February, I will see a note saying that, okay, I have to call up XYZ on this date at this time. I will not be forgetting it. So whatever is pre-planned or scheduled, please enter in your to-do list in the future also, and have a good habit of maintaining a diary so that you are able to mark things, tick things, and able to move things so that you are not able to miss out on anything. A very, very important time management skill. Second point that we saw on the list was procrastination. And it is always said that procrastination is the thief of time. So procrastination is something which takes time away from you. And what is the meaning of procrastination? Procrastination means unnecessarily avoiding a task or delaying or postponing something. So, okay, the assignment should be done after 15 days. Okay, let me not do it today. Let me start next week. So you are just trying to avoid something which is important, but not urgent at this point of time. But rather, if you start working early, you will realize that you are able to give a good quality to it and you are able to complete on time. But people who procrastinate, which means who postpone or delay something because it is not very urgent at this point of time, but which is important, then go through a lot of negative consequences. Because when you do procrastination, you lose time. You do not focus on something which is going to become urgent at a later point of time, and then you may falter and not able to deliver the outcome or deliver the quality. So do not procrastinate, which means do not delay or avoid something or postpone something which is going to be very urgent at a later point of time and which is very important at a point of time. So if you have exams after 10 days, start preparing right now. Don't wait for the 8 hour to start working on it, because then you will come under a lot of pressure. So a simple example, I also am a professor. I conduct sessions in a lot of colleges, and few of my students have joined today's session as well. So when I conduct sessions in classrooms and I give assignments to students, what do I expect out of the students is that they submit the assignment timely, which means if I tell them that you have to submit the assignment on 5th of February, most of them or all of them have to submit by 5th of February, and they need to do a quality job, which means they have to give an output which is good and which covers what was told. So I've shown some figures on the right hand side. Only 15 to 20% of the students are able to do it on time and with quality. around 60 to 70% of students are able to do it on time but lack the quality. So they are not doing a good job, but they are, however, submitting it on time. And there are 10 to 20% students who are neither giving it on time, neither are they giving quality. Now, the problem is these 10 to 20% students who are procrastinating. So when I ask them, why are you not able to deliver? They are saying, no, sir, I forgot about the assignment. I just started working on it yesterday, though you gave it 15 days back. So that is where they lose time. They procrastinate. They do not make a to-do list, and they are therefore not able to deliver on time. If I speak to the 60-70% students who are giving it on time but still not giving a quality, again, they are those who are not able to focus on that activity. They are also some who started just 3 or 4 days back and did not start working from start. Therefore, this simple example tells us that in life also around 15 to 20% people are those who are able to manage time well, who are able to give on time and on quality. But it is very important that we increase this percentage and more people fall into the 15 to 20% bracket. So I'd be very happy if I see 60 to 70% in green, submitting on time and submitting in quality. But that is where each of us needs to work as individuals, put a conscious effort on time so that we are able to deliver on time as well as quality. So what happens when you procrastinate? Somebody who is delaying things or not doing on time, he basically goes under stress, because when the date comes closer, when the exam date is very close, then he gets into an anxiety mode. He gets a lot of stress. Oh, now my exam is just 3 days down the line. Oh, my assignment is just due tomorrow. And then you start making more errors, and then you tend to results into failure. So please don't procrastinate. Do not delay things that are very important and we know that will become urgent in a few days. Please focus on them. Start early, because always well begun, we say, is half done, which means whatever you start early will always be done in a very fast way. Okay, so that is the second point. After the to-do list, we now saw what procrastination is and why we should not do procrastination. So how do you avoid procrastination? As I said, start early. If there is something which is important that is coming up, don't wait for the last hour. Eliminate distractions. Don't look at distractions. Say your focus is very clear. I need to work on this assignment. I need to work for this exam. I need to work for this target. Get organized. So create your own list. How do you work on that? How do you complete that assignment? Set some goals. So decide that if I have to submit by 15th, let me complete by 12th, so that you are well in time. Reward yourself sometimes. So also you can say that if I do this by this date, I will watch this movie, or maybe I will reward myself with something else. So do that to yourself. If you are able to achieve something which is tough, and set your own timelines. Very, very important that we as professionals and as students are able to set timelines, set goals, get organized, and always start early, because that's what the world will also ask all of us. And the third point and the last point, which is time wasters. Can everybody go on mute, please? So this is what we call time wasters. So there are certain behaviors or habits that consume time and are unnecessary or do not produce any benefit. We need to basically ensure that we do not spend time on these time wasters. So what are these time wasters? So I've shown 3 blocks at the bottom. One is poor communication. If you are not a good listener, or you are not reading properly or not speaking properly, then it is actually a time waste, because you will have to understand that again, you will need to read that again, or maybe you will need to get the communication right. So for example, I am going to speak for the next 5-10 minutes. I've spoken already for the last 45-50 minutes. If some of you have been listening very carefully, it will get registered very clearly and you will start working on it. Now, there are certain slides that I'm presenting. If you're reading it properly, right, you will be able to register easily. If you're not listening or not reading and are going to say that let the slides come and I will go through them, you're going to again waste time. It's a time waster, because you are going to spend more time on again reading and again listening and again speaking, so that you are able to understand the concept very clearly. So whenever you get an opportunity to listen or to read, do it in a neat way first time itself, so that you're saving time of repeating it again. Second is distractions. Time wasters. Another point is distractions. Sometimes we get non-important calls. For example, as I was being reading today for this session, I got 2 or 3 calls from unknown numbers. I didn't pick them up because I said, no, my focus is for preparing for this time management session. Let me not take up this call. Let me call them after I complete the session because they are not something which are very important for me. Unproductive meetings. So sometimes in the professional world, there are a lot of meetings that are organized. Should I attend a meeting or should I focus on something that is more important? It's a call that we need to take. So I recall that when I was in the professional world, there were 3 or 4 different calls at the same time. I would not attend some of the meetings because I knew that these are not very important. I may delegate it to somebody. I may tell one of my team members to go and attend that meeting because I have something more important to attend. Unwanted visitors. Some people find it very difficult to say no to visitors. But I always had a habit to say no to people, be it a call or be it somebody who wants to meet me. If there is something very important I'm handling at this point of time, I will say no, let us meet tomorrow or let us do the meeting later or can you call me later and so on. Please do that because your focus on certain things is very critical. Third is online addiction. This has become a big problem nowadays. Lot of students, lot of professionals have an online addiction of surfing, either on a social chit chat or maybe on Instagram or Facebook. And a lot of students and professionals also play video games and are watching TVs or videos or movies. And this online addiction of doing a lot of unimportant things takes away the time from things that you need to focus on. And therefore, it is also a time waster. I know so many of my students who have a habit of playing games, video games. They get time to play games, but do not get time to search for a job or maybe do assignment on time or prepare for the exams, which is a very, very bad trait and a pure time waster. So please consciously define your time so that you are not putting time for poor communication, for distractions, or for online addiction. So what do we come to finally? In Hindi, which is the language we speak in India, and I know that there are a lot of other people from other countries also on this call, we normally say time milta nahi, time dhoondna padta hai, which basically means that it is not about having time, it is about making time. And therefore, I had used the word called conscious because each of us has the 24 hours in a day in our hand. We will not have time. It is how we will make time out of those 24 hours. How much time should I sleep? How much time should I focus on the important activities? How much time should I focus on the urgent activities? How much of the activity should I delay, not do it right now? Is something that is in our hand, and therefore it is about making time. So if you start making time, you'll realize that you have time for most of the important things. So a lot of people come and tell me, I don't have time for exercise. So I tell them, why can't you get up half an hour early and exercise rather than getting up at 7 o'clock? Why don't you get up at 6:30 and exercise for half an hour? And then they realize, yes, they can always do that and make time for exercising, which is something that they've not been able to do. So very, very important in life. It's not about having time. It's about making time for things you want to do. So finally, as we come to the fag end or the close of our session, let's look at the benefits of time management. If you are able to manage time and make time for the important and the urgent things, then you are able to function effectively. You are able to deliver quality work because you are very focused on what is important and urgent, and therefore you are able to deliver quality out of it. So I see so many students in my college who have delivered quality work in the assignments, in the exams, because they are very clear that at this stage, I am doing my course or my MBA, and I need to focus on what is important at this stage rather than get distracted by non-important things. And if you get distracted, then you are not going to deliver quality work or function effectively. Third is if you are able to manage time very nicely, you are able to increase your output because you are able to focus only on something which is going to give results. And this will also lead to reduced stress. So most of the people who are able to manage time properly are not stressed because they know that I have these 4 important things to do. I am focusing on them and I will be able to complete them on time. So quickly, let us look at the takeaways from this session and then do some question answers. So what are the takeaways from this session in summary? The bad news is time flies. Everybody feels time flies, but the good news is that you are the pilot. So each of one is the pilot who can control the 24 hours in a day and the time. And that is what is something I'm very pertinently saying again and again, that each of us needs to consciously be the pilot of his time. So what did we learn today? Time is the most precious resource. Please value it. As I already said, we all have a fixed time span of say 100 years, 75 years or 70 years that we're going to live. Even that is a time span we have. We have a lot of things to do in that. Have a conscious control over the time spent. So please work on what you do, what you should not do. Like we saw the breakups of sleep time, etc., etc. Inculcate a habit of making a to-do list. Please have a diary or a notebook and make a to-do list on a daily basis in the morning. What have I supposed to do today that is important and urgent, and mark them. Always prioritize work. So we saw Eisenhower's matrix, important and urgent. Please prioritize. What is it that I need to avoid? What is it that I need to focus on? What is it that I need to do right now? Do not procrastinate. Do not delay things which are going to become urgent and important later. And the final point we saw was eliminate time wasters. Things that you feel are not important at this juncture, keep them aside, avoid them. So, as I said at the start, time management is life management, because even in life, we have a fixed time span. We're going to be here only for a certain point, and we have a lot of things to do. We have to meet, be with our friends, we have to be with the family, we have to work, we have our dreams, we have our trips that we may want to do. Some people want to exercise, some want to do cycling, some people have hobbies. You need to have good time management, which is actually going to lead to good life management. We're going to now look at a nice short video. I'm going to run the video for 3 minutes, and this is going to give you the answer to the jar, the stones, the sand, and the water problem. So let's look at it. So I hope you could see the video very clearly. The message that came out was that we need to focus on the golf balls, which is basically what the most important things in life. And that happens true for time management also. The most important things should be the golf balls or the stones in the diagram I shared with all of you. Okay, so this is how we complete our session on time management. So if there are any questions, please feel free to ask.
So the question is how we can manage deadlines.
Okay, so see, when you say you have deadlines, basically it means that something which is urgent and important, right?
Yes, sir.
Because you know that you have to complete it by an X date and there may be some result that you need to deliver. So when you know that it is something that it is urgent and important, you need to focus on it. For example, if I know that I have an exam on the 5th and today is 1st and I'm not prepared for it, I need to ensure that I put in 8 hours or 10 hours on a daily basis. True. I know that there is an assignment I need to do by 5th and today is 1st. And I know that I need at least 20 hours to complete that assignment, which means I need to put 5 to 6 hours on a daily basis. So if you're able to break your time of the day and then not focus on unwanted activities and focus on the one that is something which is deadline based, you will automatically spend efforts divided across the time you have to complete within that timeline and deadline, and you will be able to do it.
Yes, sir. So there is one more question. How we can limit distractions?
Okay. So see, like I said, we need to be very conscious of what are the distractions that are coming. For example, now that I'm conducting this session, what are the distractions that can happen? My family members can walk in the room and say something, or maybe disturb. I may get some phone calls. I may get a WhatsApp message which may take away my attention, or something like that. What do I do? So before I start the session, I've told my family members that I'm in a session. Please do not knock the door unless it is something which is very urgent. Any phone call that comes, I put it on a silent mode so that I am not going to be distracted by it. So I am consciously taking some proactive steps to ensure. Now, for example, if I am doing something very critical and somebody calls who's a friend, I will not pick up though he's a friend, because I know that what I'm handling right now is something more critical. Unless the friend is in an urgency or an emergency, I will not take the call. So you need to take a conscious call that what are the distractions. A lot of time it happens that you are doing something and there's something, a news that pops up, or an Instagram update that comes up, or a Facebook update, and you tend to then go and see, Ocha, who posted on Facebook, what is it. Don't do that. If you're focusing on your assignment, everything else should be shooed away consciously.
So one more question. How we can balance work and personal life?
Okay. So if you see the first or the second slide I shared, I had shared something called self time, work time, etc. When you say professional and personal, you are basically looking at work and personal life. And let me tell you, anybody who needs to succeed in life has to give personal time also. Now, when you say what is personal time could be family time, personal time could be time to your parents, personal time could be self time, and you all need to therefore define that how much time do I need to spend on a regular basis. For example, I know a lot of people who do not find time to speak to their parents because they are too busy with work. There are a lot of people who do not get time to meet their friends because they are too busy with work. There are some people who do not get time to go to holidays because they are saying we are very busy. No. If you can plan and say that, no, I will call up my parents once in a day, I will go on a holiday once in 3 months, and you plan for it well in advance, you're able to do it. I have been somebody who has consciously put time on my personal hobbies, my personal holidays throughout my 20-year corporate life also. And I know very few people who are able to do it. And therefore, you need to plan for this, because if you know that you're going to get happy with something that is going to be your personal time. Profession, yes, is important, but like the professor said at the end, your goal balls are your family and your hobbies and your passions as well. So give importance to that as well. Otherwise, you will come to a stage in life where you then feel, oh, I don't have time to do something which I should have done when I was young. So when I see myself having quit the corporate world 6 years back, today I am a professor. I am teaching. Today I am doing a lot of cycling. Today I do a lot of sports. That is because I decided consciously that I do not want to continue in this professional world till the age of 60. Let me take a break at the age of 50 and focus on something that I'm very passionate about.
Yes, sir. So one more question. How can do my assignment within time with task as well as learn after that submit early morning?
Okay. So see, this is a question from a student, And it is very, very important for students to understand that they have to very clearly realize that the 2 or 3 years that they are studying in a particular course, be it an MBA or being an engineer or be an BCom honors, is the real time when they will learn. And knowledge is power. So they need to be very clear that in those 3 years, I need to focus on what is very, very important for me, and that is getting the knowledge through the lectures, through the books, etc. Now, many of the students do not realize that. They just feel that I get a degree and I should get a job and I should be successful in life. It is not as easy as that. You need to put efforts in those 2 or 3 years. And there are many MBA students of mine who put efforts in those 2 years and they
Yes.
realize over time that they do well in the professional world. That is the true with assignments also. Don't do an assignment just for the sake of completing it and submitting it to a professor. Do it with a purpose that I will learn out of this assignment, I will read, I will put efforts and then submit it so that you'll automatically learn out of it rather than doing it as a thing that you just need for the sake of submission. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. So one more question. What we have the time management characteristics, but your boss is the one who procrastinates you.
Okay. So if your boss is somebody who's lazy, then it is your bad luck, because I've been very fortunate in my life to have bosses who are very, very time disciplined. And if your bosses are very time disciplined, it comes to you also. But if you get a boss who procrastinates, you need to maybe let him know the importance and urgency of a certain task, and maybe get into his shoes and get the job done. So I have sometimes seen this kind of scenario where there are some people who come and tell me that, sir, my boss is very slow in sharing the information. He comes out very late with something to be done. Then you need to give some feedback to the boss sometimes, saying that, sir, sometimes you need to share things early. Otherwise, what happens? There are some bosses who will just come 2 days before the presentation. Maybe presentation bana do, make a presentation very fast. So it becomes a challenge. So you sometimes need to give a feedback also so that the bad habits of somebody else do not impact you.
Sir, one more question. Is proper sleeping worth sacrifice in order to make more time?
Okay, so if I understand this question correctly, and what I started was that sleep time is also a very important time in our entire cycle time of a day. I know so many people who sleep only for 4 or 5 hours, many of my students also, which is not a very good habit, because if you sleep less, it causes a lot of health issues. Therefore, you need to focus on having at least minimum 6 to 7 hours of sleep. How do you do that? Is something that you'll have to again consciously see that in a 24-hour day, what is it that I should not focus on, so that it creates issues. Okay.
So one more question. When all are equal importance and emergency, so what will be the solution?
Okay, so sometimes we face these kind of scenarios when everything becomes important and urgent, and that is because maybe you did not focus on certain things which were not very urgent maybe 8 days back. So therefore, I said if something which is not very urgent but important, some days earlier you need to start focusing on that. If you do not do that, then everything can come and become urgent and important on a certain day. Now, if that scenario comes and everything is urgent and important, then you need to realize that you will need to have spend extra time. So if you are going to spend 10 hours a day on work, sometimes it may happen that you need to spend 15 or 16 hours for a given point, but that should not become a habit. Therefore, I am saying that something which is important but not urgent, do not forget it. Do not procrastinate. Start working on it slowly, slowly, so that by the time it becomes urgent, you are already done most of the time and complete. Otherwise, what will happen is you will have too many urgent and important things at a given point of time. It happens sometimes, but then we need to learn to manage it.
Yes, sir. Next question. How to motivate those unemployed people in terms of time management?
Okay, so like I did this session today for 1 hour, and maybe some of the attendees got some insights. We also need to become mentors to some of our employees. So some people whom we realize are not very good at time management. For example, I had a team of 25 people when I was in the corporate world, and there were around 6 or 7 in them who were not very good at time management. So as a senior or a boss, I used to give them inputs very clearly or feedback saying that this is what you're not doing right, because of which we as a team are failing. So maybe some of my team members did not reach office on time. Somebody never reached meetings on time. Somebody could not deliver quality of a given deadline on time, and so on. So I used to give them continuous feedback based on whatever I shared today also, so that they improve. And many of them showed improvement because some people need feedback, some people need handholding so that they can work on it.
Yes, sir. So there's one more question also. When do we need to do time management?
My answer
Yes,
is you need to do time management throughout your life, starting from, like I showed you my time journey, right? And as I
yes,
said, you need to do a to-do list every day. So except maybe when you're on a holiday or maybe or it's a Sunday, you may not need, but otherwise you need to make a to-do list on a daily basis early morning that I need to do A, B, C, D, E things today. For example, even a Kanika has certain tasks to do, right? You may also need to call up somebody. You may need to follow up with somebody. You may need to send an email to somebody. You may need to
yes,
have to call up somebody. Meet somebody in a meeting. So if you get up in the morning, make a to-do list. It is very easy to monitor and say that okay, these 8 things I've done. My time management is to be done every day.
yes, sir. So thank you so much, sir, for making our doubt clear. The webinar was really very amazing. I hope all the participants encouraged with this
Okay,
session.
the pleasure was all mine.
Thank you, sir. I would really like to thank you, sir, for giving us your valuable time. Thank you so much, sir. Uh,
Thank you to
I
all for attending, and I hope there was a lot of value addition to all of you. Best of luck to everybody.
thank you, sir.
Bye.